Hello! To cut a long story short, I've been writing a book for a while. It's called Terrible Old Games You've Probably Never Heard Of and is based on my video series of the same name. Now, as you may be aware, loads of YouTubers have got book deals recently, so I thought the time was right to find a deal for my literature baby, and as a result, I have joined forces with Unbound, a non-traditional publisher whose business model works far better for me than the usual ones in the book world, mainly because they're keen to publish books on niche subjects and didn't demand something safe they can control the content of. Anyway, here's the promo video for the book. Roll VT, Errol!
The European home computer market during the 80s and 90s was a hell of a thing. Crazy ideas and humour ran riot, and high-resolution texture-mapped 3D graphics were the stuff of a madman's dreams. Unfortunately, for some companies operating at the time, things like quality control and playtesting were apparently also the stuff of a madman's dreams. You can find a wealth of information online about dreadful console games released onto the American market, but in Terrible Old Games You've Probably Never Heard Of, I'll be focusing on more obscure releases. And when I say terrible old games, I mean really terrible. These aren't the mediocre titles you find in so many clickbait lists proclaiming worst games ever. The bare minimum for entry is that it's almost impossible for anyone to have fun playing the game. Case in point, this is Hunter for the Atari 8-bit series. They charged the equivalent of £13.50 for this via mail order, and it was released in 1995, the same year Sony released the original PlayStation in the UK. In Terrible Old Games You've Probably Never Heard Of, you'll find descriptions and in-depth research for some of the most appalling video games ever to have dripped from the industry's tear ducts, all presented with wry humour. I'll also be asking some people you may well have heard of what their most disappointing gaming purchases were, along with some bonus articles. So if you'd like to hear about some gaming atrocities for the Acorn Archimedes and Electron, Amstrad CPC, Atari 8-bit series and ST, BBC Micro, Commodore 16, VIC-20, 64, Amiga, CD-TV, CD32, Dragon 32, MSX, Oric 1, Sam Coupe, ZX Spectrum, and maybe more, you know which book you need. It's this one.
Do-do-do-do-do. I love that. Right, so the book will contain somewhere between 20 and 30 main entries, not decided yet as it depends on the length of some of the extra features. I'll be announcing the names of guests talking about their biggest gaming disappointments as we sign them up. So here's how the publishing works. Basically, think of it as a kind of pre-order service with some extra crowdfunding style rewards. If enough people pledge for a book, then it gets published through Penguin Random House and ends up in shops. If not, then nobody sees it and I throw the manuscript at a swan or something. Now the thing is, you get nicer editions of the book for pledging earlier than would end up in the shops. So you can join the Terrible Old Games You've Probably Never Heard Of master race, where you can hold aloft your special edition copies as the shop-bound consumers scrabble around in the filth looking for inferior copies of a book that they can only buy because you bought it first. Okay, I may be overselling that a bit, but the point still stands. Everyone who joins in gets access to my shed, not the literal shed in my garden, that's just full of gardening equipment and spiders. It's a virtual shed where I'll post bits and bobs as the book progresses. We're also having a meet-up where we play some of these terrible old games, which you can come along to if you want to pledge extra. Also, if somebody wants to pay an awful lot, they can actually have this ZX Spectrum Plus 2 I got for Christmas in 1986 and was my first proper computer. I still love this thing, so if you do get it, please look after it. And don't get weird pink-coloured blue tack stuck in this groove like I did. God, it's actually still there. It's amazing. It was stuff called Buddies. I don't think they've made it for like 30 years or something. Anyway, that's irrelevant. If you're interested in this book, have a click on the link in the description, which will take you to this website that I'm showing you the URL of now. Thank you, guys. It's going to be emotionally scarring.